everybody. Good morning. I'm Ed Lambert. Welcome back. 10 minutes after 9 o'clock on this frigid Thursday morning here on Cape Cod. Thanks for listening, everybody in the islands and the southeastern New England. We're at 508-775-9985. Our toll-free phone number is 1-888-WXTK-951. My email address, ed@95wxtk.com. This coming Friday night, tomorrow night, over at the Cape Cod Regional Tech School in Bourne, about 6:30, they're going to have an interesting discussion about Common Core and what Common Core is all about. Well, Common Core and who adopted it, the federal program. Jeb Bush loves it, other people don't. But the expert that's coming in on Friday to speak to everybody here in the Cape at the Tech School is Dr. Peg Luksik from Pennsylvania. Doctor, welcome to the show. How are you doing this morning? And thanks for joining me, too.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I'm probably as cold as everybody in Massachusetts.
You're down in Pennsylvania right now, right?
I am, and we're even colder than you are because I live in the mountains.
Oh, no. Everybody, Dr. Peg Luksik has been involved with over 35 years in professional experience in teaching and preschool to college. You were also involved with President Reagan's Commission on the Family, worked with the Department of Education. You and others founded the Center for American Heritage, and you're coming in to talk to us about Common Core. Why don't you let everybody know, Doctor, first of all, how Common Core came to be and how many states now have embraced Common Core?
Actually, the original pieces of Common Core, in terms of how the standards were developed, they were developed in secret. So the National Governors Association Center for Best Practices and the Council of Chief State School Officers, both of those are trade organizations headquartered in Washington, D.C., came together with grants both from the federal government in the National Governors Association case and from the Bill Gates Foundation in both organizations to develop the standards. And according to a press release that they issued while the standards were being written, all of the workings were confidential. We have no minutes. We don't know why the folks on the development committee, the 29 of them, were selected. We don't know who selected them. We don't know what they considered when they wrote the standards. We do know that the standards were developed confidentially, in secret, and to this day they've never released the documents. That alone should give people a huge pause. The federal government then went to the states. When the Obama administration came in, they passed, as part of the stimulus bill, money was made available to the states. Part of that money was called Race to the Top. And states were dangled the carrot of Race to the Top money if they would promise to adopt the Common Core standards. Mm-hmm. But they had to make the promise before they saw the standards. So they all adopted the standards sight unseen.
That was part of it.
That was a cause for concern.
That was part of the stimulus money, Race to the Top money that the states were awarded with signing on to this whatever it was at that time, Common Core, without knowing the specifics of Common Core.
Yes.
How many?
When you go back and look at the over 45.
45 states.
Yes, signed on. Now there's been a huge pushback as the standards actually became public. But when you look at the application dates for the states putting in for Race to the Top money, the Common Core standards were not issued until June of 2010, and the applications were all dated before that. And in fact, in a press news article, it was a national conference of math educators who saw a draft version and hated the draft version of the Common Core standards, and they specifically said, why are we in such a hurry? And William McCallum, who was one of the lead writers, actually said, and it was reported in the press at the time, that the federal government had set the timetable and that they were using Race to the Top money to leverage the states into adopting the standards sight unseen. And the word sight unseen appeared in the article.
Doctor, with all of that background, why do certain states... Why are we in love with Common Core? Why is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Department of Education, and others pushing Common Core? Why is Jeb Bush, when he was governor, pushing Common Core? Why is everybody in love with something that it's like Pelosi signing off on the Affordable Care Act? We had no freaking clue what's in it, Doctor. And we don't even know if it's good for the kids.
Oh, and that's also public record. Bill Gates, who's one of the principal funders, actually appeared in Harvard last September, and when asked about it, he said, well, we'll have to do it for a decade before we know whether or not it works. Understand, his children go to a school that does not do Common Core.
Of course.
So it's okay to experiment on your children, but not on his.
Go ahead, finish up, yeah.
The states, the race to the top was the carrot. At the same time, No Child Left Behind, which was a federal law, was coming to the point where the states would have to prove 100% proficiency, meaning they would have to demonstrate that every child in the state was proficient or on grade level in reading and math, which is, of course, an impossibility. So the states asked the feds for waivers so that they wouldn't lose their federal money. And the federal government said, okay, you can apply for a waiver, but to get the waiver, you have to be doing the Common Core state standards. So race to the top was the carrot, and the ESEA waiver was the stick. And so states were basically boxed in by the federal government, being told you'll lose your federal money if you don't do this, or you'll lose your waiver, and then you'll have to go back to No Child Left Behind. You can't prove 100% proficiency, so you'll lose your federal money. So the federal government basically is bullying the states into implementing this program.
Are there no governors out there, Doctor, that are calling the bluff of the education of the federal government?
Oklahoma actually passed legislation that said no, and they've been told they're going to lose their waiver. Indiana pushed back, but adopted standards that the folks who got involved, all the parents are saying they just readopted the Common Core standards with another name. In Pennsylvania, where I live, they just renamed the standards and consistently say, well, we're not doing that. We're doing the Pennsylvania Core. No, we're doing the Common Core. So the push of the federal money that's a big bully, so there really is not a lot of pushback. The one who is coming the closest is Texas. Texas did not take race to the top money. The Attorney General, who was recently elected governor, while he was still Attorney General, said you can't use the Common Core standards to meet Texas graduation requirements. So they're openly pushing back and basically daring the federal government to stand against them. Virginia did not take race to the top money. They did, however, apply for the waiver, and when I went through Virginia's waiver contract, they took their state standards and aligned them with the Common Core standards so that they could try to play both ends against the middle.
Gotcha.
The states are afraid to lose the money.
That's what it's all about. It's all about money. It's not about what's good for the kids. It's not about anything else. It's about teacher unions, and it's about what's not good necessarily for the kids. I'm talking to Dr. Peg Luksik, everybody. She's coming to Cape Cod up into Bourne tomorrow night, 6:30, to talk to everybody again about this. I suggest that you get in line and contact the school or contact the Liberty Chalkboard for some more information about this. Doctor, one of the an awful lot of this Common Core stuff, I mean, you're talking about teachers, you're talking about more, but an awful lot of the stuff that I heard was there was an awful lot of concern about data collection for young kids. And
the concern is justified.
What's that?
The concern is justified. The Common Core demands that the states, even before the race to the top money, the federal government was pouring money into the states, forcing them to implement what was called a P through 20 longitudinal data system. P was preschool, K through 12 is what you think, 13, 14, 15, 16 is college, 17, 18, 19, 20 is the workforce. So it's a cradle to career, and those are federal words, data collection system that includes all of the demographic information on the children. It includes disciplinary records, and they follow you forever. In fact, if your listeners want to see where it winds up, go to the U.S. Department of Labor, not education, labor, and look up Workforce Data Quality Initiative, and you will find that the states are receiving grants. The Department of Labor is collecting education data. They are merging it with data from the Department of Social Services and Criminal Justice, the mental health institutes, your health records, your financial records, to get a complete dossier on the child and the family. And as we're looking across the states, what we're finding is all of that information is being collected and then used to determine what will be the career that's appropriate for your child, and then all of their education will be aimed to that career.
Wow.
Your child doesn't pick the career.
Well, so what the government is saying, more than anything else, Doctor, right now, is parents go to hell.
Yes.
I mean, to be blunt about it, that's what they're saying. You have no control. You have abdicated all your responsibilities to your kid, to the government. And I don't care what your kid says, what you say. This is what we are coming up with. And if a parent says, well, I don't like that course of action, or I think my kid should be in AP Physics, they're saying, I'm sorry, that's not available.
Yes, and actually Delaware, which received Race to the Top money before Massachusetts, so they're ahead of you. That when you look at the Delaware documents, and I've been in Delaware many times, their documents, the kids have to have what's called a student success plan, but before they enter high school, they get a career matchmaker that the state uses all of the demographic information and then gives the children a list of careers they can pick from. It's called the Child's Student Success Plan. Parents may look at their child's student success plan. They may not change it.
You're kidding me.
I am not kidding you, and that's right in the documents.
This is listen up, everybody. If you're wondering where we're going right now, so there's no such thing as a guidance counselor anymore. It's a career matchmaker, doctor.
Yes, and that's actually what they call it. It's a computerized system. I have found it in Delaware. I've recently found it in Georgia. In Georgia, parents can the child gets a menu of choices. The parents can consent within the menu, but they can't step outside the menu. The menu is controlled. So you don't get to pick. It's chosen for you. Probably one of the best explanations I heard was, it's ridiculous to ask a sixth grader, what do you want to be when you grow up? But this is even more sinister than that, because nobody's asking that child. They're telling the sixth grader. And then your high school career will be geared to make sure that you're able to do that career, but that's all.
Doctor, a quick question about educators and superintendents of schools and principals and school teachers, right on down the line. Is our education system and our teachers' unions and everybody on board with this? I mean, teachers are mothers and fathers too.
No, they are not on board with this. The teachers' unions at the national level, which received millions of dollars from the Gates Foundation, really did not anticipate the level of pushback they were going to get from rank-and-file teachers. I was, for example, in Philadelphia, and I didn't realize my audience was Philadelphia public school teachers until I was done, and then they sort of mobbed me, and these women were literally in tears, many of them saying, I am quitting as fast as I can get out. You know how Obamacare is causing doctor flight? Well, this is causing teacher flight. Teachers are quitting because they won't participate in this. Many of them are being told they're not allowed to speak out or it will be their jobs. They're being pressured not to attend seminars like mine and they're being told it won't be good for your careers, and so they are quietly leaving. In fact, when the Common Core standards were first released, Dr. Carla Horwitz, she's from the Yale Child Study Center, talking about the early childhood standards, specifically said many of the most experienced teachers will just quit in despair because these standards will hurt children and the teachers won't participate. Wow. So what we're seeing across the country is teachers just saying, I won't do this. How fast can I leave? Like, how can I work out early retirement, finding another job, because I will not participate in this. Sadly, the best teachers are the ones who are leaving.
And yet we have principals and superintendents looking the other way, because what it comes down to is money, right? It comes down to the fact that we want the dough.
Well, principals are quitting. Superintendents are dividing out. You need to remember, superintendents work for the state. They may work in your school district, and they may get paid by your school district, but their job description is to make sure that your school district implements the state mandates. That's how they're certified. So even though your school district pays them, their job is to make sure you're doing what the state says. So it's a self-selecting career anyway. So you don't see the level of flight, but at the more local levels, we are seeing across the country people beginning to get out, teachers and principals. Some really brave souls are speaking out against it from their position as teacher and principal, even though they know that this will hurt them, because their evaluations are being tied to this. So teachers who do not comply will be deemed ineffective and forced out anyway.
Dr. Peg Luksik, thank you very much for joining me this morning. Talk about a dynamic presentation for tomorrow night at the Cape Cod Regional Technical School. Everybody should be going to it, not only moms and dads and grandparents, but also teachers too, and probably principals. Why not? And
oh, absolutely.
And I appreciate you coming on with us. So we'd like to keep in touch with you, Doctor, as time goes on, because this is something that